Hello and welcome. I'm Simon and this is the top of the world. This is the Swedish Arctic. It's currently minus 33 degrees Celsius. So I'm breaking my own rule by being out here. My own rule is we don't need to be outside, so we don't go outside minus 25. I also need to be really aware Casper is behind me and he can only be out for a few minutes at a time. So I'm going to go through what I need to go through out here as quickly as possible to answer some of the questions that I repeatedly get asked. And now I know my older subscribers have seen all this before, but I gain subscribers and then I get repeatedly asked the same questions about why my snowplow hasn't got a door and why I don't have heating and questions like this. So I'm going to show you. Now I'm also doing this without gloves, which is a really silly idea. Right, the heater in my snowplow. See that there? That is a heater. That up there is the blower. That blows air through that. That is heated via the engine. Now this tractor is completely cold soaked. She's been sitting there for 4 days, right, all in minus 30. Here is a plug. That and that. That goes to my battery tender, which needs to be plugged in. This goes to my engine heater, which you can't see is in the dark. And these two cables, which are completely stiff, have to be plugged in and they're on timers. So I must know 24 hours before I need the old girl so she can be plugged in to keep the battery charged up and to allow it to heat. Otherwise it won't run. The locking system for the door, this here, this bar here, it's really important. So the door hinges on here and it opens this way. But if this here is raised, that bar locks the door shut. Locks the door shut. Can't come out the windows, it's got bars. There is an emergency hatch on the roof. But if this is raised, the door is locked. Also, if the door is open, you can't raise this. Right, which means you can't operate the front. So it has to be sat right down, then you can open the door. So that doesn't work in any scenario whatsoever when you're ploughing or shoveling or moving anything, because this arm has to be up or down. Right, so that's all right. You can remove the locking system. Right, my hands are going now. Yes, you can remove the locking system, so the door is just loose. Right. Let's go this way. All right, son, we're done. Yeah, I know. Come on. Look at me overhang. Why is there a bin out there where it's got hot ashes? Because we're having to run the furnace 24 hours a day. So in the mornings, I have to take the hot ashes out the bottom, but they'll continue to burn and set fire to anything that I leave. Right, the door. There is a separate video on this door, fully renovated. This here is the door for the tractor. Right, that's the original door from manufacture. It's had new perspex put in it to try and solve the problem. Right, and it's all been painted up. And there is a whole video just on me renovating that door. Right, we need to go. Come on. Inside. Oh look, there's the Audi. Right, is it together? No, that's in more videos. Have I got to take the engine apart again? Yes, we don't even want to talk about that right now. It's a generator there because we've been having power cuts. Oh yes, can I run the entire building on that generator? Mostly. Do I have to get that generator out? Yeah, are there cables everywhere? Yes, are my hands now hurting? Oh, I can't even begin to tell you. Let's get back inside in the warm. Is this building too cold to work in? Yes. Does it have underfloor heating? Yes. Unbelievable. All right, Betty? It's not good, is it? No. Oh, no. Are we still working on things like headlights? Yeah, but that's not what this video is about. Am I wearing standard clothing? No, because my standard clothing's just not hot enough. I have to go out in my rab when we're this cold. Will I work in my rab? No, I don't work. You can't work out there. The only time I've been out is 2 mornings ago at 3 AM, my neighbours called me, their power went out, and it wasn't the main power, it was power of their house. And before I even know what time it was, they're apologising for being in the middle of the night. I swung my feet out of the bed and I said, I'm on my way. And I couldn't take him because I've got to walk, because no vehicles to start. The transit's parked outside, that's not plugged in. That will need to be plugged in 24 hours before it starts. So cold soaked, the battery will be dead, the starter motor won't turn, the oil will be solid, bearing in mind these are diesels. And my friend's just bought a diesel car. I wish he'd asked me before he'd bought it, because I told him not to buy one, because they're really, really difficult to start when we're like this. Anyway, we've got 2 hats on, haven't we, bud? Am I looking my best? No. Hot water. Can I turn, the way my heating system works downstairs, it heats the radiators, or I'll turn the radiators off and put it on a short circuit and heat the water. Can I turn the radiators off and heat any water at the minute? No, which means we've got no washing machine, no dishwasher, no baths, no showers, no hot water, unless we light the wood stove upstairs, and then I can boil water. Right, so let's talk about the door then. So, when I bought the company in 2017, I obviously, the tractor came with it and had the door on it. The first thing I noticed when I started clearing in the yard with my own snow is the door was always frozen up. You couldn't see out of it. The visibility within the machine is really, really difficult anyway. You're going to see this in upcoming videos, because I've got new videos coming that multi-cameraed angles, including head cam inside the cab. You're going to see how difficult it is to drive that vehicle anyway. It's very big, it's top heavy, there are no brakes, there is no heat. So that heater works, it's like a candle in a windstorm, does nothing, even if you've got to shut the door. So the fact that that machine gets cold soaked, it also means you're surrounded by iron. You're sitting on iron, you're surrounded by iron. The whole thing is tons of iron. That's also cold soaked, irrespective of whether it's got a diesel engine running in the middle of it or not. And that diesel is a cold running diesel. There is no way at these temperatures that a diesel that only runs just above tick over gets warm in any way. It's actually at its warmest when I go to start it after it's been plugged in all night. That's when it's at its warmest. It runs quite cold. That's just the way it is. So with the door, it was always frosting up. Anyway, I took it off and I survived a couple of winters with it off, and then I decided to renovate the door to see if I can solve the problem. There is a video, right, on that where I put new perspex in, paint it up, make it all nice. It freezes on the inside and the outside, so your visibility is limited. That's your first problem. Here, all the roads are raised, and either side of the roads there's big ditches. Some of them are very big, and that's so that you can push the snow in, and then during spring it all melts and stays in the ditches. Stops the road erosion. Most of our roads are rock, and it stops flooding, right? So if your visibility is impaired and you slip with that, she's going to roll over. She's not going to slide in the ditch, she's rolling over. When you roll over, the door's locked. Your only way out is the top hatch. You've rolled over. You're now in a iron cage. You're dead before they get you out. Even if a helicopter comes whilst they're trying to get you out, there's a very good chance you're dead, or you've lost arms and legs before you get to hospital. Right? That's not how it's happening. Right, then the other problem is, and I found out this quite early, I had a stack of pallets on the front forks, and I lifted them up and those pallets fell against the door. I'm now stuck inside the tractor. Fortunately, my brain works in a different way to most, because I couldn't get the pallets off. So I put it in reverse, turned it full lock and shot round in the middle of the yard till all the pallets fell off. And then I thought, well, that's really bad. So then once you've got the arm, especially in the winter when you're snow ploughing, it's unlikely you can ever get the arm fully down, right? Or if you're on a bank or in any other scenario where that arm is raised, the front arm is raised, the door is locked. You cannot get out. If you take the lock-in mechanism off, and it's raised for any reason, you can't open the door because then the mechanism is in the way. And the way you operate, and you've all seen me do building, and if you haven't, I've got plenty of videos, you sometimes have to climb out. Anyway, the door is just a massive hindrance to life because it opens forwards and it's right where you're working. It restricts your visibility and it does nothing to keep you warm. It just makes everything worse in the cab. No door. No door is safest for me. It allows me to work more efficiently. It allows me to work safer than having the door on, in my opinion. And my opinion is based on a vast history. So door is off. Okay? So if you have to operate that machine as a snowplow, you need to be kitted well. So I have warmers for my feet that go inside my boots, an absolute must because I'm old and my heart don't pump blood like it used to. I have warmers for my gloves. I also take a secondary pair of gloves and put them in my overalls, which I normally wear in, right? So I can swap out my gloves before my fingers get cold. When I'm on a journey, I very often drive with my fists inside my gloves. And then I wear a full Arctic suit with all my normal layers underneath, 2 hats and anything else I need. In addition to all of this, I can never be more than an hour from filling up the furnace downstairs. So 2 hours is your absolute max before it is burnt out. We'll go down, I'll show you that if you like. So I work my snow ploughing circuits, and depending on the temperature depends on how short they are. And then I come in, I fill up the furnace, I warm my hands, take half a cup of coffee and start again. So there's no distances away. Not only is it not safe for me to do distances, I also risk losing the building because of the distances in the cold. And the tractor is so slow and so dangerous on the main road, I don't want to do it. So a few years ago I did ploughing into a remote farm up north. For that, I had to drive an hour on the main road. I can't even begin to tell you. So in the old films, when you see him driving like that, that's the reality in that old Volvo, just to try and keep it in a straight line. In addition to that, I've got a plough that is considerably wider than the machine itself, which means when I go across the main bridge, I'm the only thing that can go across the bridge. Anything coming the other way needs to stop way before the beginning of the bridge. That makes it dangerous for everybody, especially if you're in a whiteout scenario. They can't see, or at night when you've got all your lights on, they can't see. It's just dangerous. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. And I used to do some distance farms south. I say distance, 45 minutes drive. I'm not doing that. It's too far for me, it's too far for the machine. So we're now village only. I've explained the heater. Right, plough versus bucket. Okay, so I've had questions. When do you use the plough? When do you use the bucket? The plough is the most efficient way of clearing snow. You can go faster, you clear a lot more snow, and it just banks it up. Do you have to clear that bank away? Oh yeah, eventually it will bank up so much that the snow won't throw anymore, and you have to push it, which is what the ditches are for. You push everything into the ditch and then you can plough again. So what I do is I plough in the mornings to get the roads open, right? So all major roads, the rings, the communal areas, then I'll come back and I change to the bucket because you can't get the plough in the drives. You can take the plough to the bus stop, but I've got to hit at least one tree, unless the snow is really deep. And then I have to cross a major ditch to get to the bus stop, and it's just really dangerous with the plough because it wants to push you sideways and push me in a ditch. So I change for the bucket, really because I have to remove the snow from where it is. So any driveways, the small bus stop, the pump house, all this kind of stuff, you need to remove the snow and stack it up out the way. You can't push in driveways, and the plough's too big in some of the driveways. How do I deal with no brakes? Well, there's numerous videos of me with a bucket on a incline, a steep incline, inches away from cars. I go in at the front, drag back, all with no brakes. Years of experience teaches you to drive with no clutch, no problem. Years of experience teach you to drive with no brakes, no problem. You just need to be in the right gear, in the right ratio way before you do anything. If you've got no brakes and you're going down an incline, right, and you're in a forward gear, it's only going to end one way. It's not going to end any other way, irrespective of the gear. It's only going to end one way. So before you go over the brow of any of the hills, I need to have completely stopped it, got it in low ratio and reverse gear, and you roll down with the clutch in, real slow, or biting on the clutch so that you're already in reverse. Does it jump out of its ratio? Yes. Does it jump out of gear? Yes. Very often when I'm doing these kind of manoeuvres, right, I can't put a hand on the steering wheel. I have to have my hand on the gear stick and the forward backwards because it'll all jump out of gear. She's old and worn. Doesn't stay in any gear. You've always got to have a hand on the drive stick. She's old and manual and worn. Is the clutch good? Yeah, clutch is good. Why do I have to keep coming back here? Let me show you. Okay, so now we're deep underground in the bowels of the entire operation. My wood's looking a bit down. We've used a lot of wood in this last week, running it 24/7. Anyway, there's lots of wood rooms. For security reasons, I'm not going to show you necessarily around how this complex underneath the building works. Not for my safety, but for any of you clever ones that decide you want to pay me a visit. This is where you'll end up. Somewhere down underground where nobody can hear your screams. I'll just put that one out there. Right, okay, this. This is my creation. It's an adaptation of a 1947 commercial heating system that runs a total of 64 hot water radiators throughout this building, and it is all run by this. Well, Simon, that's small. Yes, this is what was here. It works, it's relatively efficient, and I've never made enough money to do anything else other than use this. So this whole system works on a set of manual valves. There's nothing electric down here other than this pump and that pump. This is my short circuit pump down here. This is my long circuit pump. So this is connected via this and all these pipe works, and this keeps the building running. In order to make hot water, I have to shut this down. I have to change a whole series of valves and turn it onto a short circuit which heats my water. Right, whatever you say, don't tell me you can run the water you can't. This is how it has to work. So this has to be fed all the way through the winter, and largely I can light it at 6 AM and it can be allowed to go out at 11, 12 o'clock, so you stop feeding it around 10 o'clock at night. When it's below -25, it has to be fed 24 hours a day, which means one of us, right, has to be up all night feeding it every 2 hours and not fall asleep. There she is, and then what I have to do is park my tractor outside, come down there, which is always really nice and warm, and fill it up. And you can see it's not like those big outdoor boilers where you can put in whole trees. It's reasonably large, but also for what we do with it, relatively small firebox. And I could probably get some more in there, but you notice that the wood is starting to tilt back, and when it does that I have to wait for it to burn down so that I can straighten it all out. And that's that, and that has to keep running. And you know, I'll show you our outgoing water temperature. So for that running all the time in these temperatures with this amount of radiators and size of the building, right, that's in Celsius. So we've got just over 50 degrees Celsius outgoing water temperature. And that's why I do the snow ploughing routes in the way I do, so that I'm back here to be able to feed this. And then in here, most of you seen, I've done a video on this. This is my renovated wood room with my metal chute, like Simon. And this is my wood room. This is my main wood room. I've done a video, it's very cold in here. I don't know what the temperature is in here. So that's my main wood chute down, and then it gets stacked. And then from here, it goes into there, which helps pre-warm it, and away we go. So, and all these cables, this is for the power cuts. So the heavy snow, ice, and then we had a windstorm, we had a number of power cuts. So this then is connected to the generator outside, and that is why we have this connected to our main pump, so that I can plug straight into there and keep the pump running, because if the pump goes down, this will overheat, boil over, and there'll be an explosion. It's not like a pellet burner that would just go out, you would just boil over and lose heat in the house. So that's why that is hanging there, so that I can plug straight into the generator and keep the heating working. And that's why I can't leave the village. So I'm very aware that most of you watch on TV now, smart TV on your YouTube app. And as somebody who's also now watching on a smart TV, I know you can't make comments on your TV. I know you can't also, or it's difficult to go to the channel and see everything about it. So everything I've talked about, there's extensive videos, sometimes multiple videos on the same subject, which you can go back and look. I could put a timeline in some of the videos that I'm currently editing, but if you're on a TV, it makes no difference. It's not like you can just click on it like you can on a phone or a tablet or whatever else. So that's the most common questions. Heater, door, plough versus bucket, and no, I don't travel distances. The machine can't travel distances. I don't want to travel distances, and I can't be away from the building. And that it also goes with going to town, grocery shopping, anything like that. When it's like this, when it's below -25, you can't leave the building. The building has to be tended all the time. And in many ways that works for the village as well if I'm needed. But the most important thing is if we lose this, and when I say lose, if it gets too cold, pipes start to freeze, and that has a knock-on effect. We have glycol or heating freeze inhibitor now in the lines, but that took like 6 or 7 years to be able to afford to do that. But prior to that, we've actually lost our heating whilst the heating system has been on. It's got so cold, it's frozen it. Now that can't happen now, but the huge building that it is, the heating system's actually in quarters. So you have a quarter in each side of the building, and that quarter services all floors. So we lost a quarter of our building, and it knocked out where the chickens live, it knocked out our own living quarters, and it knocked out the offices all at once. And that was down for weeks because the pipes in places travel through the cellar concrete, and if it freezes in there, you're done for. So we haven't had a freeze up like that since we've added glycol and since we've kept the heating system running 24 hours a day. But sometimes it doesn't seem extreme like it shows on the videos, but it is. It can really be a knife edge, and it's a huge building. It's quite a big operation with the responsibility of snow clearing as well. You have to be on top of your weather, on top of your machinery, because it wouldn't be just me letting myself down. There would be many people. It'd be a knock-on effect to the people that would be let down if in some way I failed or weren't on top of my game. So I hope this video doesn't lead to lots more questions. If you've got questions about do you really have your animals living in the cellar, there's videos on it. If you've got questions about the door or the heating system or the snowplow, you have to look back. There's videos on that. There's videos on the heating system, the wood. There's videos on everything. So I just thought I'd do this because I know now a lot of people watch on their smart TVs, and it's not as easy to get to my main channel. But on my main channel, there's sections for all the different videos, and I think there's now 400 more videos on just about everything I do. Really appreciate you. There is some really good videos coming at the weekend and next weekend of this huge snowfall, and they're getting more interesting because these videos are all running now with multiple cameras. Do I have a problem with cameras in the cold? Yes. Battery life. Your battery life will die long before your memory card, your SD card has even remotely got anything worth watching on it. So when I go out and I'm running multiple cameras, right, there is no point in me doing a behind the scenes. I have pockets full of cameras, brackets, but most importantly, in my chest, I have a big packet just full of batteries. So irrespective of how cold it is, how dark it is, in order to keep all the cameras running all the time, right, I have to periodically stop and check to see which ones the battery's gone flat. And some of them are in, oh, they're all in the other end. Some of them are in dive cases, you know, the plastic sealed cases. This kind of keeps them weathered, but heats them up a bit. You've got to disattach all that, take that out. Try and get a GoPro out of a dive case, right, with gloves on, or take the gloves off, and then change back to it. Sometimes there's a gap, is what I'm saying, in filming, where one or more or all of the batteries have gone flat, depending on how I'm chasing time or whatever happened. There's been a good few times I arrived back in the yard after a short run and every battery's been dead. So when I'm stitching them together, or I'm doing what I can, if that annoys you, tough life. But it's generally because a camera has gone down and I've picked it up where I'm working at on another camera. Sometimes that don't work. The other thing that I've noticed as I'm editing is sometimes the camera, due to the cold or the plastic bracket or whatever, has just gone like that, right? And the whole time that battery is run is of the camera looking down at the ground, and therefore the footage is no good. So I'm doing what I can by stitching it all together, learning as I'm going. It's a really big issue to film with multiple cameras in these temperatures, in the dark, on something that wants to rattle you to death. Yeah, that describes it quite well. You all have a good day. Thank you very much, really appreciate it. We'll catch you on the next one. Bye for now.